Hi there, welcome to Nonsense Whisky. My name is VinPF, and on today's episode we've got a bit of a special episode. Now, thanks to my subscription service to the Dram team, I now have two different expressions of the Springbank 12-year-old cask strength. Now, unfortunately, I would have had three different expressions because I've been a member of theirs since the start, but that first one, I genuinely wasn't sure if it would make a good video or not back then. This is when I first started out, bear in mind, and I drank that one to enjoy it. So I should have kept it, but 2 years would have been, maybe a bit off. But let's get into these two and see exactly what we've got, and we're going to do a bit of a heads up and a bit of a versus and see what we've got. Now, as you can see on the back there, we have the batch 17 versus the batch 18. This is a batch release whiskey. They first released it in 2010, and they've been doing 1, 2, 3 versions of it a year. Now, I've got batch 17 over here and batch 18 over here, and that's August 2018, and this one is January 2019. Now that means that I've got the most recent batch right here. Now if we're looking at their general release schedule, we shouldn't see another one now until August time 2019. So if you're watching at that sort of period of time, then hopefully you'll be enjoying it. But this is kind of a thing that we need to talk about in the whiskey tube world. I can't guarantee that any of the other batches before or after taste like these. Especially these two, which we'll get into in a little bit, but they've got a bit of a different recipe going on. Now, let's have a look at ABVs and see what the differences are. That's kind of the real main way of telling the batch numbers. Now, they don't actually release the batch numbers on the bottles when they release them. Sometimes you can tell by the differences in labels and things like that, but really the ABV is your main teller, and that's pretty much the case. They're all different apart from two expressions, the 13 and the 16, which have the same ABV, but you can tell the difference between them because of the difference in labels. All very complicated. If you know what you're doing, it's easy to find. There are websites that can help you differentiate which one you've got, but there are differences in batches, so don't take this review of these two as gospel for everything else. Now the batch 17, that's the way I'm going to refer to these. So August 2018, January 2019, 17, 18. So the batch 17 is a 56.2%, big heavy hitter, and the batch 18 is 54.8, so slightly less, but still a very good ABV. Price-wise, these generally release around 50 odd pounds a bottle, maybe a bit more, but obviously they're incredibly hard to get hold of. Most of it is just allocation only, goes to shops, whatever, but if you want it, you've really got to know when it's coming out. So follow the feeds on Twitter, follow the kind of auction websites even, because they'll let you know when things like this are coming out on retail. But you need to get yourself in the know if you're interested in getting a bottle of this brand new. Otherwise, you're looking at the secondary market, and the prices of them just go straight up, and it's probably worth it, to be honest, but we'll talk about that when we get into the drams. Now, I've got some whiskey coins on top of these. We've got number 59 protecting the batch 17, and we've got 188 protecting the batch 18. Let's get into the first one and see what we got in the glass. Now, I said that there's a difference in the kind of makeup of these, and that's really quite different between these two. So far, up to batch 17, we had kind of roughly 70% sherry, 30% ex-bourbon cask influence. That changed with this one, the newer one, the 2019 January, and now it's 50-50 on those casks. So big difference really if you're interested in the kind of sherry casks. Let's get into the first one and see what we've got. Now straight away, we've got a nice kind of fruity, kind of sweet nose on it. And dare I say, a little bit nutty as well. Can't really detect much peat on this. Now, Springbank is a 2.5 distilled whiskey. If you want to know more about that, go and check out my Springbank 18 video. I'll put a link up here. I kind of go through that process a little bit more, not in depth per se, but a little bit more. I'm not going to really go into it today. But they also have a light peatedness to it, and it's roughly 12 to 15 ppms. Not getting that on the nose though. I think that's probably disguised by the high alcohol content. On the palate, that's incredibly sweet. There are some kind of sherry notes coming through, some touch of raisins, that sort of thing. There's a very, very, very light peat coming through. It may just be my tolerance increasing to that, but there is a detectable peat there. And dare I say it, it's almost a little bit kind of fudge-like, the kind of sweetness there. Really good. Really, really high alcohol content. Now, if you're not used to that kind of higher end of the alcohol contents, then this shouldn't be your first dram of the day, and you shouldn't just kind of neck it back either. You should kind of build up to it. But for me, that's kind of exactly sitting right. I'm a big fan of the higher ABVs. Really, really nice mouthfeel on that. The finish just keeps going on and on and on. Mega spicy, mega sweet, and more of that nuttiness I was talking about earlier. Let's put that back under coin 59 and grab the next one. So, this is a 50-50 sherry cask, ex-bourbon cask. Got the old Dram Team glassed on there as well. Let's check out the nose. Wow. Okay. Distinctly different. Still kind of sweet. But instead of that kind of fruity character and the nuttiness, for me, it's a little bit more grassy and more kind of cereal notes in there. It's a little bit more biscuity, I think. Let's try on the old palate. Again, loads of sweetness, but for me this has kind of got an extra element of saltiness almost. It's almost like a salted caramel, more of that cereal coming through, but still quite sweet. Finish again, exceptionally long, but instead of finishing on that kind of sweet and nutty note, this one's finishing on a more of a kind of cereal, biscuity note. Let's chuck that back under there. So, to sum it up, really, really good value whiskies. If you can get these at retail, I highly doubt you'll be disappointed. It's got a little something in there for everybody. Now, in terms of verses on these, it's really, really difficult to kind of pick between the two of them. I feel like I could pick one today, but tomorrow it would be different. So today I'm leaning more towards the more sherry cask influence, the batch 17. But tomorrow I might not be on a bit of a sherry vibe. I might be on something a bit more. So I would go for this one. So I don't really think I can pick a winner today per se. They're both exceptionally good, and it would be a coin flip for me which one I liked on any given day. But again, as I said, good value whiskey. I don't think you should be knocking around on the auction websites spending too much money on these. I genuinely think up to around maybe £80–90 would be good value for these whiskies even still. Getting a lot of ABV, maybe not so many years, but even so. Any more than that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, and really you'd be hard pushed to open it if you are spending more than that. You'll end up probably collecting it. And you know I'm not a big advocate of that. I do like a cork to be popped and to be shared and enjoyed. But they also have a light ppm of and it would be a conflict.